We've just had an opportunity convened by the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, together with the Minister of Peace, and had an opportunity also to hear from the Tigray Interim Provincial Government leader, interacting with the international community, particularly those who are working within the humanitarian context in this country and supporting and working very closely and jointly with the government in addressing the needs that are required for the people in northern Ethiopia. This was a first, and I think it was a very useful meeting. Today's meeting, convened by the Deputy Prime Minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, together with the Minister of Peace, was a really good meeting. It brought us, gave us an opportunity, bringing us together as the international humanitarian community to really, number one, find out where we are in responding to the issues that are happening in northern Ethiopia, and also secondly, to ensure that we understand that we're all jointly wanting the same results. We want to see the people in northern Ethiopia have good, dignified lives, and that we find solutions to the issues that are making their lives very difficult at the moment. What was very useful was to hear the progress as identified by a Minister of Peace in the response provided around health, food delivery, water and sanitation, even preparations for agriculture in the region. What was also very useful was for us as the international community to be able to say that we're working with the government, we're trying to address the same issues, but we understand that the resource gaps are still very much huge, because the people in need, we haven't met the needs of all the people in need, and we still have made a promise that we will address all the people who require services, whether it's access to water, whether it's access to shelter, because as you know, many people have been displaced from their initial homes and have found themselves in places where they would not want to be, but also to address the future as we move forward, as the insurgency continues even at this time. So the opportunity to meet and to hear, and for the government also to listen to us about some of our challenges and how we can come together to address them, was very useful, and we'll be taking that back, in fact this afternoon, to the rest of the humanitarian community, so that we understand where we need to be. We also communicated to the government the contribution by the donors in this country. Just under $500 million has been provided to the response in northern Ethiopia since December to the current time, that has addressed a lot of the needs that are required. But what is clear is that we still have a lot more to do. We still need to look out for women and children. The issue of the human rights violations, particularly for women and girls, the sexual violations need to be addressed. Yes, we've probably managed to address a little bit of it, but the issues are grave. And we heard from the ENDF leadership in this office, in this country, on how they're really taking it seriously. We heard there's zero tolerance for sexual violations, and they committed to ensuring that anybody who commits these violations is brought to justice, so that the lives of many of the women and girls can continue, and that we prevent any more of these violations taking place. I was also able to update that the OHCHR, which is a UN entity working with the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, is in Tigray as we speak, conducting investigations, and we hope to have those results within a few next 1 or 2 months. And we heard from the Deputy Prime Minister that whatever comes out of that report, they will respect as a government and make sure that justice is done. That was very reassuring to all of us. But I think what we also heard was that the needs will need to continue. We've still got internally displaced people who are in schools, but we've heard about the plan by government to do several things. Make sure that if they're going to be staying that they've got shelter that is adequate and dignified for those that who would like to return, that efforts are being made to ensure that wherever they're going to be returned to voluntarily, that their places of abode are ready to receive them, and so that they can be not even a worse situation than where they are at the moment. So the IDP situation is critical because we've got millions of people who've been displaced from where they are because of the law enforcement operation that took place. But we also heard of some future visions that they want to do. They want to bring people back to school, and I think that the UN, of course, wants education as a priority, and it's something that we would like to see moving forward, and ensure that we do it in a dignified manner, but that we don't displace people who are already under shelter to make that happen. In other words, we need to work very closely together, government and the international community, whether it's providing health services, whether it's rebuilding health clinics and hospitals, whether it's providing water and sanitation to everybody who needs it. At the moment, we saw many trucks are delivering water around the region, but we need to look into the future as repairing some of the damage that has been done. What is key, I think, that came for me in this meeting is that we need to solidify the partnership. The results that we want are the same. The results that we're working for are the same people. We want to see people elevated to get back to where they were before this conflict arose, so that their lives can be just as good as yours and mine, and that people live in peace, that they're dignified, and the United Nations and the humanitarian community are committed to that venture. It's not about them and us, but we need to work closely with government to fill the gaps that they have identified and that we have identified together. We're on the same page. And I was calling for similar meetings like this to enable us to work very coherently together, to address and find solutions together, because it's only if we do this together that we will find change. The response that we're talking about is what we call a multi-sectoral response. So if you put the people at the center, if it was you at the center and you were in that situation, what would you want? You want to be safe, you want to be secure, you need food, you need clean water, you need sanitation so that you don't get other diseases. You want, if you're a farmer, you want to be able to get back to farming. But you know, really the bane of it. So that's what government is contributing to, but that is what the UN and other international partners are also working towards. So we've got one plan, only one plan together, the Tigray or the Northern Ethiopia Response Plan, which we're all working towards. We, as the humanitarian community, are trying to work jointly with the government so we address the same issues. Now, you heard that there are major funding gaps in shelter. You know, moving people from the schools, you can't just leave them out in the open. You need to find, either you pay the people, relatives who are looking after them, because a lot of them may have relatives where they can stay. Maybe it's a question of giving them cash. Maybe it's a question of putting them in a shelter that is being constructed. Or maybe the option is for those who want to return to where they came from. If it's secure and safe, then they will be given that option. But shelter is a big problem. The other is health. Health is a big gap. A lot of the hospitals and clinics were destroyed. And so re-putting back the infrastructure and making sure that the commodities you heard in the meeting, medicines, health commodities, women who come in who've been violated need care, children need to be immunized, vaccinated. You heard about COVID. We need to set up that system back in the region so that we know what is happening around COVID, plus other diarrheal diseases. And of course, so the list is quite long, but I think that the closer we work together, the better. And we're working along the same issues. It's not that there's a different plan and a different plan. No. Our job as humanitarians is to support the government efforts in reaching all the people in northern Ethiopia who need our help now.